Well, hi, good morning. I'll be taking you through the global cues today. In fact, if you look at the Asian stocks, it has opened little changed on Monday and the oil has remained subdued below the $60 per barrel. In US, the US stocks did close at record highs on Friday. Both the S&P 500 and Dow Jones rose on Friday to close at record highs, posting a third straight weekly rise, partly on the liftoff of the growth stocks, with a late day rally building gains ahead of the quarterly earnings season next week. In fact, the investors have shrugged off concerns over the inflation and they are focusing more in terms of growth. Treasuries fell while the dollar has advanced. The growth names have outperformed the value stocks. The growth names have found their footing over the past 2 weeks after being outperformed by value stocks for most of the year. There was a pullback in the 10-year US Treasury yield from the 14-month high in the late March. That also did encourage some of the buying in the US stocks. The Dow Jones rose close to around 0.9% to close at 33,800, while the S&P and Nasdaq were up close to around 0.7% and 0.5% respectively. In Europe, the European stocks were subdued on Friday but marked the longest weekly winning streak since November of 2019. Of course, there have been hopes of rapid recovery in the economic growth, offset by doubts over the Eurozone's COVID-19 vaccination program. The European stocks also hit a series of all-time high this week despite setbacks on the vaccination front after European regulators found a potential link between the AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine and reports of rare brain blood clots. The pan-European stock 600 index was up 0.11% after hitting an all-time high at the open. DAX and CAC were up close to around 0.2% and 0.06% respectively, while FTSE did fall back close to around 0.8%. In Asia, the Asian stocks have opened little change on Monday after the third straight weekly Wall Street advance, with the Federal Reserve chairperson flagging the prospects of higher and stronger growth as well as hiring. Equity markets were steady in Japan, South Korea and Australia. US futures did dip after a solid US session on Friday. Rates on the Australian 10-year debt has jumped past 1.8% as well. Traders will be monitoring the start of the day in China and Hong Kong after Chinese authorities imposed a record antitrust fine on e-commerce giant Alibaba. Nikkei was flat while the Australian indices were down close to around 0.2%. Kospi index was up close to around 0.4%. If you look at the oil, which is the WTI crude, did fall close to around 0.5% to trade below the $60 per barrel on the back of fears that the recent OPEC decision to increase output could be bearish for crude to a certain extent, which would be nullified by the deflation in the economy. Brent crude was also down nearly around 0.5% to $62.95 a barrel. If you look at the gold did slide slightly by 0.7% to $1742 an ounce, weighed by a jump in the US Treasury yields and a rebound in the dollar, but the bullion was still on course for its first weekly gain in 3 weeks.